how would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Tony with us. We did the founder of Millionaire Choice. So Tony, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Well, I don't know if there's just 5 steps, Harry, but I'll give you 5 that you can apply. There might be like 20, but I'll give you 5 that I've kind of found to work for me really well. I grew up in a low-income family, and I didn't know anything about money. I was stupid. I was broke and spending all my money. So the first thing I think I had to do, whether you're a business guy or just somebody who's learning money, is you got to get money smart, man. You got to learn about money. There's not a rich person on the planet that was born with wisdom about money. No, nobody. I don't care who it is, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, any billionaire. They might have had it easier to get there, but they still had to learn. They had to learn, they have to put in the time, and they had to study money. So if you want to be good with money, you got to get money smart. You got to study money, just like you study math, English, and science at school. That's probably my number one rule that you gotta live by. It's the first thing I did. Probably some of the others that kind of have served me well as I've gotten into the entrepreneur world and got away from the corporate world was, you got to learn sales. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you don't know anything about sales, you better learn it really, really fast, because nobody's going to sell your stuff except for you. And if you can't sell it, nobody else will. And you have to know something about sales. You have to know something about marketing, and you have to put a lot of energy into it. And even the people that you hire that say they know something about marketing, guess what? They don't know anything about marketing, right? Most of the time I just hear complaint after complaint after complaint about, I paid this guy all this money, but he didn't sell anything for me. He didn't market. It was because you tried to hand off something you should have been doing yourself. And so that's a really big deal. I've had to learn that rule as an entrepreneur. Another one, Harry, would be great product. You've got to have a great product. If you don't have a great product, nobody's going to want to buy it. So how can you sell? And your salespeople don't want to sell it. You don't want to sell a crappy product. And so you got to have a great product. You better make sure it's good, that people want it. Otherwise, even if you can sell it for a little while, you can't sell it for a long term. And so you're not going to get to 1 million. You might get to 100,000 with a bad product, but you're not going to go get to 1 million with a bad product. You got to work really hard, man. I think for me, transitioning from the corporate world, I was a 40, 50-hour week guy, and I didn't do a good job managing my energy, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, you have to understand the energy principle, and it takes a lot of energy to get something over the hump. And when you can relate to saying, hey, what's $1 million look like? Well, $1 million looks like a lot of energy. And so I better use the energy I have very effectively and efficiently. That means maybe I have to give up golfing for a little while, or I have to give up. But there's something you've got to give up that takes your energy away from you, and repurpose that energy to something that's going to pay dividends for you in the entrepreneurial world. And then someday you're going to be successful, and then you can take some of that energy back and repurpose it. But until you hit that million, or until you hit that, continued success, you've got to repurpose your energy. And then probably one I didn't do a good job of, but I've done better this year, at least in 2024, is meet people. You just got to meet a lot of people. And I mean, and the right people, not just anybody, but you got to find the right circuits to get into. So a big pivot I made this year, Harry, was I meet probably 200 to 300 men a week. And in different meetings that I'm in, I started getting up at 7 a.m. I'm at a different men's meeting Monday through Saturday, and I see anywhere from 30 to 50 to 100 different men every single day of the week that I didn't even know. Some of them I didn't even know last week, and I meet new people. And that's been a big game changer for me. I'm a people person by nature, but I did not put the right system in place to be able to meet this number of people. And now I'm meeting new people. It's part of my DNA. And so those are kind of my big 5 right now that I'm working on, that I've had to learn moving from a corporate into entrepreneurial world.
So Tony, tell us, you decide to write a book. So can you show us your book and tell us a little bit more about that book?
Yeah. So my book is called The Millionaire Choice, and I am the author of The Millionaire Choice, Millionaire Not You Can Choose. I was a 25-year-old broke kid, grew up in a broke family. Parents didn't know anything about money. My dad dropped out of school in 10th grade to support himself. My mom went to a couple of years of college. I think my mom, maybe the most she ever made in her life was about 35 grand a year. during her lifetime. Didn't really hit it big, and didn't know really what to do with money. So when I was 25 years old, I realized when I got my W-2 out of college and I saw that I made $39,000 and I was $16,000 in debt, Harry, I was like, man, this is a bad idea. Like, this is not going in the right direction. And so I was fortunate for that light bulb to come on for me to where I said, this is not good. I cannot do this again. Like, I have to change. And so I pivoted and started learning about money, what I call getting money smart. That's millionaire key number 3 in my book is Get Money Smart. And I started studying money and realized that it really wasn't that hard. You know, it was really just a simple math problem. And as long as you change the math, then you can kind of make something happen. And so I had a dream of becoming a millionaire by age 40. After I published my book, Harry, and did my podcast, started meeting all these other millionaires, I realized doing it by age 40 wasn't that special, that there was a lot of guys that did it by the time they were 25 or they were 28. And they had the same story I did, man. They were broke. They grew up in broke families. One guy I met, Harry, he had his what I call millionaire choice moment when he was 5 years old because his mama told him not to ask him for a candy bar at the grocery store because she didn't want people to think they were poor. And then when he heard that as a little 5-year-old, he was like, what's wrong with this? I want a candy bar. And so he went home and thought about it, and he told his parents, he says, I'm going to be a millionaire when I grow up. And that way I can buy candy bars, right? And he did. He was a millionaire at age 25. And so that's kind of the story. That's the story behind the book. And it's really just my principles on what got me from being broke at 25 to a millionaire at 40.
Yeah, Tony, but at the end of the day, I think it looks too good to be true, but it's actually the truth that what you share with us because everybody's broke, yeah. But I said, look, if you learn about money, you're not gonna be broke anymore, especially if you learn how to sell. Yeah. It's gonna be very difficult for someone to have money problems if they know how to sell. Because if you know how to sell, you can sell anything. So you can have other problems in your life, but you're not gonna have money problems. In the same way, I have friends that have PhDs and they have read thousands and thousands of books. You might even say a name on the book, and he probably read it, and they know a lot about. Yeah. However, they are broke, and I'm always thinking, and they are always complaining that they don't have enough money. I'm always thinking, why that you read 100,000 books about history of mankind and all the gazillion things that why you don't take few books and read about and learn about money, because that's a little bit of reading that you have to do, and we solve a huge problem. Yeah, it can solve the problem for you to read books all your life if you want, because you can quit your job. So why, Tony, is that, and how do you took the decision? Basically, how you got inspired to take this so seriously to learn about money? Who told you? Because definitely one of your parents, same like my ones. My parents, they were teachers, so they don't know how to open they never have business before. So everything that I hear in my house was go to university, make sure you have high marks, so you're gonna have a good job. Yeah, so this is what I did. I went to university. I finished university. And I never been exercised as a chemical engineer in my life after that. My parents, they were very happy though, but I spent 5 years there, and after I find a job, I try to immigrate to Spain. What I study, it was not there in the city, it's in the coast of Spain because I'm an engineer. So the industry of Spain is on the north. I want to live in Madrid, which is a huge city, and nothing was nothing was making sense, what I studied with what I really want to do in life. But so on your own, if it didn't come from your parents, I mean, we don't blame them, they're doing the best they can. If they didn't come from your parents, and how you took this decision, who showed you?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that have to happen, right, when people start to make the shift. The first thing that has to happen, Harry, for everybody, right? I don't care who it is. It has to be a mindset shift, right? Because we are structured in whether low income, whatever it is, we're stuck in a mindset. And so we first have to start to shift our mindset. So for me, I went from, man, I'm broke to I don't want to be broke. That's a mindset shift. So then you have to empower your mindset to go, okay, now how do I change that? And then after the mindset shift, Harry, it has to come vision. And that's where I find most people don't have the capability to create. And that's where they're falling short, is they're so stuck doing the same thing over and over, just like a gerbil on a wheel, right? Just running on that little wheel over and over and over. That's where 99% of the world is at. They're just trying to survive. And that comes from Maslow's hierarchy, which we're going to talk about in just a second, right? Maslow's hierarchy says unless your basic needs are met at the very base level, you can't go beyond that first level. And so that's where like 99% of people are in the world, or is at that first level. Now in the United States, it's not that bad, but it's getting that bad. Like it's getting worse. Year after year, it's getting worse, where people are getting moved down from higher levels of Maslow's hierarchy to where they can think freely, to where they just have to survive. And that's not a good thing for society. Really, we should be reversing that. And I can talk about that, right? We don't want everybody to stay in level 1 of Maslow's. We want everybody to move up to level 2, 3, 4, and 5 to higher levels. But the system, Harry, doesn't want that to happen. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. But let's go back. Mindset shift first, everybody that's listening. This is it. It's the same process, no matter who you are, no matter what year it is. It's the same process. That's what I love about the Millionaire Choice, is it's a repeatable process. Anybody can do it. I don't care what neighborhood you grew up in, what color you are, what race you are, whatever. It's the same process: white, black, green, yellow, brown, red, any kind of race. Mindset, vision is next. Is your vision's got to change about the future. Like, you have to believe that you can actually create something new and different. And you can take that belief and believe it because other people have done it, right? The United States of America has something like 40% of the millionaires in the world, but by population, we should have only about 3%. So we have about 15 times more millionaires in the United States than we should have. Why is that? A lot of it is because Americans are free thinkers. They're not visionaries, but they find a system, and the system exists. But other people can do it too. And then once you do that, that comes into the getting money smart or doing the actions, right? But most people can't get through the first 2 layers, Harry, and they get stuck. So yeah, you can go read a book, but if you're not studying money, you're not getting money smart. And then if you don't have a vision for a different future, well, you can't, there's no map. Like, how are you going to get there? But those are the big ones I see, Harry. And just to touch a bit, the system doesn't want you to break free, because the people at the top of the system, they stay where they're at because everybody else stays where they're at, right? So when everybody stays at the bottom, they get to stay at the top. But if the people at the bottom start figuring this out, then the people at the top don't get to stay at the top like they do right now. They have to move down, and that's when true wealth and prosperity exists for everybody, because that gap between the very top and the very bottom has to encroach. It has to close up a little bit, but it doesn't have to close up because of what they call redistribution of wealth. That's bullcrap. That's terrible stuff. We don't want redistribution. We want enablement. We want empowerment, and that comes from a different system. Our system right now, Harry, is broken for the masses, and it's broken because of inflation, taxation, financial manipulation, false currency, and a bunch of other stuff, right? Criminal activity, that's one too. There's a bunch of those. We can list them all out.
I definitely agree with you. Like, for example, this podcast, 5 Steps How to Make the First Million, 80% of the people that attend this podcast coming from United States. So we already interviewed 500 millionaires. So I definitely can tell you that most of the millionaires are coming from United States. I'm not even from US. I live in London, right? But still, most of the people attending to a podcast are coming from United States. So tell us about the chapter of the book. What chapters do you include in the book, and why?
Yeah, so my book has what I call the 10 principles or 10 keys of the millionaire. It's really simple 10 keys. There's nothing really rocket science about it. If there's anything really unique about my book, it's really the first 2 keys don't have anything to do with money, because if you want to be successful in life, and you know this, Harry, it's not just about money. You can get money, get rich, and destroy your entire life, end up on cocaine, end up on drugs, women, whatever, and just wreck your entire life and have a miserable life. But the first key is you have to build and develop strong character. You can't build or keep wealth unless you have strong character. That's millionaire key number 1. If you don't have it, you won't keep it. There's a lot of rich guys that end up broke because they didn't have strong character, right? Millionaire key number 2 is maximize your time. A lot of people waste their time. The average American, I think it's like 138 hours of television a month. That's a full-time job. Everybody has the same amount of time, rich or poor. It's what you end up doing with your time that decides whether or not you're going to end up being rich or not. Because if you're wasting your time, you're going to be poor. If you invest your time properly, just like your money, you're going to end up in a better place. So those are key elements. Maximize your time. That's millionaire key number 2. Millionaire key number 3, get money smart. We talked about that one already. Millionaire key number 4, and I would change this one a little bit from what I wrote in the book. It's called Find a Money Mentor, but I would say find a money mentor and a millionaire tribe, because you need a group of people that you're running around with. Think about your friends, right? Who do you hang out with every day? Are you talking with your buddies about money? Are you talking about how to get rich? Are you talking about how to build wealth and impact people's lives and pull children out of human trafficking and all the good stuff that you can do with money, right? Not just spend it on Lamborghinis and Ferraris like some people do, but to go, how can I leave a real impact on society? Like, that's really what you want to be doing, is going, because that is going to give you purpose for your money. And so that's millionaire key number 4. And then after that, you get into the money principles that a lot of us already know, which is, get on a budget, avoid debt as much as possible, or consumer debt. One of my big keys, Harry, is probably the millionaire key number 10, which is build your own millionaire plan, right? That's what I did when I was 25 years old. I said, you know what? I need a plan. If I'm going to be a millionaire, I better have a plan. And so after I got money smart, that was the next thing I did. And I did a very simple shift in how I was spending my money. Instead of spending it all and going in debt on credit cards and cars, I just said, you know what? I'm going to pay off all my debt. I'm going to do that in 18 months. So I put a third of my budget, $1,000 a month, went towards debt. And I just like boom, 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 paid off all my debt. Took me about 18 months. I took a third of my money, which was about $1,000, and I started investing it every month. So I was doing $1,000 in investments. I was doing stocks and then mutual funds, and that was it. Stocks, mutual funds. Simple model, $1,000 a month. And then I lived off $1,000 a month. So that's a $3,000 budget, and I just pivoted. So before that, I was spending every bit of it. Everything was going out the door. So with that little shift, I was able to pay off all my debt in 18 months and have $18,000 in stocks and investments within 18 months. And I was out of debt free. And then I got married, and my wife had 20 grand in debt. And it was time to pay that off.
This is brilliant, yeah. So you even managed to pay
Simple.
your wife. That's amazing. So now tell us a little bit more about why you decide to become a business coach.
Yeah, so when I worked for a guy named Dave Ramsey, he's a big guy here in the United States. Love Dave. He's awesome. He's helped millions of people. I got to work for him from 2001 to 2016, and we helped a lot of people, but I led all of his digital stuff. Everything doing digital I was involved with: marketing, online business, products, you name it, I did it. Ticketing sales, online. Podcast I was thinking about this the other day. Back in like 2006, we launched the Dave Ramsey podcast, and I built the system that actually took Dave's show from the radio onto the podcast. I even wrote the RSS script builder that would actually put the thing out online. And so the show would go live 30 minutes after the show was over. So it was really fun. And I had forgotten I'd done that, but it was a lot of fun. So when we started doing business training inside of Dave's company, I was actually one of the guys that actually did some business coaching for the clients that would come in. And so I got a lot of experience that. Some of these people we meet with were running $40 million businesses. Some of them were running $500,000 businesses. But I cut my teeth on that for several years, and then got out on my own, did my own entrepreneur stuff, and then started doing this business coaching. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I'm good at it. I tend to see the big picture, which a lot of business owners tend to have narrow vision on where their businesses are, especially if they're in the $1 to $10 million range, because they're experiencing these business problems for the first time. And it's hard to figure out those business problems on your own. And unfortunately, a lot of small business people fail because they do try to figure it out themselves. They don't go get help. They don't get a coach. They don't get somebody that knows a little bit more than them. Or they get a business coach that's bad, that doesn't really know anything. And so those are kind of like your two options. And so I love helping people. I've got just a few clients. I don't want a lot of clients doing this. I just like the right clients and where I can feel and add value. And so that's why I do it. It's enjoyable and it's very natural for me. So with my background at Dave's, I was on the board of directors and sat there for 4 years, was able to get to 7-figure income inside of that corporate environment annually, and had a lot of success. So it's just really taking that success and applying it and helping other people.
So let's talk about this. Why people have so much negative connotation about coaching and mentoring? Whether in the end of the day, we all know that the trial and error is this is way more expensive than to having the right coach working with you. Do you think that the entrepreneurs are afraid that you're gonna overpower them and you're gonna tell them what to do, which is not actually the case? But I think entrepreneurs make a lot of stories about what a business coach can bring to a business, and sometimes they are very reluctant. They think, well, this guy is gonna look like my boss. So a business coach is not a boss, right? So what is a business coach? And maybe can you give us a more positive view so people can embrace more this?
Yeah, I think what I've learned is I've started using coaching and how I've gone through my own path about growing as an individual and a professional is you really need to take what you need in that moment. So, like sometimes you may need something to get over the hump. So, for example, I hired a business coach back in 2020. Why did I hire a business coach? Because I was stuck launching my podcast and I needed to get my podcast launched, but I was stuck. Like I had a mental barrier. Like I had the skills to do it, but I had a mental barrier that I needed help to break through. So I was paying a guy $2,500 a month just to help me get my podcast launched. Now, what I've learned now is that I could go back and pay somebody probably $600, $700 a month or less to get that same work done. But at that time, in that moment, that is what I needed. And it was well worth it. I don't care what price it was at. I may have overpaid a little bit. I don't think so because he helped me get through my mental block, right? And that got my podcast launched. And now I've been doing my podcast since 2020, 120 episodes, met 120 millionaires. So even though I paid the guy $17,000, $18,000 to help me do that, how many people have I met? How much brand have I built? You know, that was a money well spent, in my opinion. So let's go fast forward. Most entrepreneurs don't allocate their funds properly. And the reason is they don't have experience. They don't really know what's valuable. They don't know how to drive value in their business. Most of them don't. Not all, but most. So they misallocate funds. And so when you go, how do I actually grow myself to the highest level possible? I guarantee you the most successful people on the planet, they will check a couple of boxes. One will be invest in myself. That'll be probably the number one box. And they'll say, how much do you invest in yourself annually? And some of them are going to say $1,000,000 a year. They're going to say $500,000 a year. I've got one friend, he says $100,000 a year minimum. And that's what he invested in himself. Some of them say like 10% of my profit I invest back in myself. And that means he's paying to go meet somewhere, grow somewhere. So whatever it is, business coach, whoever, you need to invest in yourself. And that can be through a business coach. That can be one of the line items that you go, how much did I invest in myself this year? Business coach, check. Now, if you don't have a good business coach, go find another business coach. You don't have a good second business coach, go find another business coach. If you don't have a good third business, keep going because I guarantee you there's good ones out there. Now, at some point, you have to go, there are no good business. No, you're just really bad at finding business coaches, right? So that's what I find is that either you're going to be good at selecting business coaches or you're going to find you're going to be bad at it, right? So if you can't find a good one, it's not because there's not good ones out there. It's because you're just bad at finding them. It's just like hiring people, right? I've met some business leaders and they're like, I just keep hiring bad people. There's no good employees. I'm like, no, there's tons of good employees. You just have a bad process for finding them. And so it's the same thing with business coaches. I would say if you had to check boxes, Harry, on finding a good business coach, you gotta look at the skills you need to grow a business. One, somebody knows something about sales or marketing, right? They're going to help you. What does your business need? Sales or marketing? What do you need? You need accountability. Somebody's going to help you be accountable. Somebody that can do strategic planning. A lot of business owners I find, they're really good at doing day-to-day work. They're horrible at long-term planning. They're horrible at strategy. They don't connect the dots well between the business, like even they're between their own departments. And they don't know how to grow themselves properly. And those are kind of the big things I would look for if I was hiring a business coach today is like, hey, what's my problem I'm dealing with that I need to solve? Who can help me solve this problem? And then maybe don't lock into the same business coach for 10 years. just go, hey, what do I need right now? Get somebody to get you through where you're at today. Maybe you stick with them for 6 months to 12 months, but make the investment to move the needle. That's really what business leadership is to me. Is like, how do I move the needle forward right now? And then maybe in 6 months it looks different. Maybe in 12 months it looks different.
Yeah, let's share some tips for our audience how to hire the business coach, for example. I think that the entrepreneurs making a wrong assumption sometimes, whether people tell you what you want to hear, which is, and I think this is when the bad decision comes. But the second way to find a good business coach is to make sure that this person have achieved whatever goal you want to achieve, because no one will be able to guide you if they haven't done it before. They need to have a proof of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in our workshop, speakers and leaders, we train internationally people how to overcome the fear of only speaking. And so I'm one of the most highly qualified coaches in the planet to help people to overcome the fear of public speaking. And however, I can prove it. I have recorded thousands of them, right? So I can back up that thing. So the whole point about this is that sometimes, Tony, you see people talking about, oh, this is what you're gonna do. You can make $1 million. By the way they talk, you know that they never seen $1 million in their life. Only someone that have make a million we figured out that
Yeah.
this, that this is, and of course, if the audience is full of people that nobody make a million, of course you can go away with it until someone that make a million sit in that room and we raise the hand and we say, excuse me, I don't think you
Yeah.
never seen $1 million in your life, because otherwise you were not teaching this thing the way you're teaching and doing this thing, right? So there is a big difference about what the entrepreneurs want to hear, but and the second one is to have find a mentor and a coach actually that that have achieved what the result you have. The other day in this very, we interview already 500 million in this very broadcast. We have someone that have 40 exits, and and then he want to start a property business in Colorado. Guess what he did? He find a coach in Colorado that knows about property, pay him a lot of money, and then he built a huge uh, property business. And somebody that have done 40 X's over $1 million each, we can agree that is someone that has pretty good understanding how is to run and to grow a business, to the point that did he really need a coach or mentor? Well, he's successful, and this is how he thinks. He said, okay, I pay, and he told me, clarify, I did pay him a lot of money. He told me, Harry, I took the business coach, the property coach from Colorado, and I paid him a lot of money, and this guy taught me everything. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, and after with that knowledge and this mentorship, he's killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now he have a very large portfolio. So the point of the story is that successful people that are always looking for mentoring, they're looking for coaches. You see Richard Branson, all the um, wealthy people all over the world, they have several mentors and several coaches, one for health, one for business, one for this, one for that. So it's all about the strategy, how you hire the coach and the mentor, and get very good at. That makes sense. So Tony,
Yeah.
if people are in love with our conversation, they want to buy your book and they want to learn more about you, how can they find you? How this process work?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the best way to just go is very simple, just tonybradshaw.com. Everything I do is there. All my social media handles, my show, my podcast, everything is located there. I actually have a coaching program, which we haven't talked about, called the 90-Day Power Up. And it's my unique program. I'm actually teaching it for the third time this year. And it's all virtual, all online. It's a multi-thousand-dollar program, but I do it really cheap. Right now, I'm probably going to raise the prices up, but it's 90-day power up for your life, money, and business. And it's really very different program compared to what most of the other programs are out there. So I'd really encourage people to check it out. I'm going to be turning it into e-learning here in Q1. So by the end of Q1, one of my goals is to start selling it as a course as well. But yeah, that's TonyBradshaw.com. Harry, I thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for you listening to the podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Tony break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.